I started it. So.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. All right, we're pushing to Facebook right now. Get a second, and then we'll start these up.
Good to go.
All right, let me get back out of Facebook. I don't think I need to play in Facebook. I'll go back just to make sure this is working. Facebook right now. Get a second, and then we'll start the Q&A. That looks good. All right, so we are on Facebook. And I'll apologize to our good Facebook folks. Unfortunately, we were doing some stretching and went through a bunch of
all the secrets.
So we couldn't share, but
next time you gotta log into Zoom to catch all that extra stuff at the beginning.
or remind me.
Or remind Bronis to kick bell.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so for those of us just joining us on Facebook, we are focusing on our lateral movements today. So we're going to run through all of the ladder drills that focus on those good side-to-side movements, starting with our basic skiers. This is just our tiny basic drop step, small side-to-side, focus on pushing with these outside muscles here. If you've ever been to physical therapy for anything below the waist, they probably made you like stick a TheraBand around your ankles and do little side steps. This is kind of like that.
Keep those eyes up. You make these a little faster. Just make sure that you're dropping into those steps. Make sure you're dropping, getting a little bit low when you do them.
That's a good indicator. If your coffee is spilling.
If your coffee is spilling, decide taking it one level higher.
I mean, coffee's down to like there, so it's cheating at this point. But it was a good challenge during this time.
And backwards.
Don't forget backwards.
Ooh.
Backwards, remember to sit down into it.
Slidey grab. There we go. That's the way.
TheraBand adds a whole nother level to it.
Up next, we are going to do the exact same thing, but we're just going to get more on the side to side. So I'm actually going to start outside of the ladder. I'm going to squat down a little further. I'm still just doing a drop step. Then at the very end, I'm going to push a little bit with those toes. Get that extra little bump side to side.
So a lot of people tend to already give a little bit of oomph in those normal drop steps. This is why these bigger ones happen, because there's two layers. One is that the hip is going the right way, and the other is that now you're pushing.
And quite frankly, being lower gets you more distance than anything else.
And if you're on grass, if your hips, like Louis said last week, if your hips are not over your feet when you land, you're going to slip.
Yeah, so be careful about reaching too far.
Also, super quick side note, if anybody is joining us on Facebook or YouTube for like the very first time and you have no idea what we're doing, we're running through these much faster than we used to. We have a lot of videos where we break these down and teach them. You can look for them on the Coach's Corner YouTube page. There's a whole playlist for drills and stuff. Feel free to message us, comment on this video, whatever, if you need help finding those links.
And backwards. So this is the fundamental drop step. This is used in almost any time you're going to strike somebody. The idea of falling into a position, even if it's forward with your hips, is that generation of power going towards it, towards your opponent. Cusimano. So this is a fundamental Cusimano type of scenario. You'll read a lot about that in how Tyson was trained, and a few other champions that Cusimano trained.
Next one we're going to do, still just a basic drop step. We're back to our small movement, but we're going to change up which foot moves first. So I'm just shifting this way, keeping my weight on that one this time, bringing that outside leg in. This is our skier with shuffle.
And again, you're just catching yourself, and the idea is that weight is shifting over the feet. Try to make these nice and small, and you can pick up speed in these.
right in front. You maybe cross your feet a tiny bit, but you don't have to. You can just get them straight in line with each other.
And the key is straight in line. You don't want to turn that foot so that your hips are turning. There you go.
Yeah, in all of this, hips stay forward. We don't really want to do the twist while we do this. And same thing backwards, just now the foot goes behind instead of
You got it right at the end, though.
Yeah. Do a lot better.
Actually, you got it right most of the way through. Yeah. And then you ruined it at the end there.
Yeah.
And you can see Louis changing it up a little bit. Key again is to keep that back nice and vertical. There you go, good. Nice small steps. Yep, just thinking about that. There you go, back. Yep. Yep, back. Yep, back. Yep, back. Good. Yeah, I know it's a little hard, ain't it? It's just hard to remember that. Yep, that shuffle first. Good.
It's our like
That's the way.
from elementary
Perfect.
class. We just do it forward instead of straight sideways.
There you go, bring that elementary up.
Then we'll do the grapevine right on the electric slide. All right. Next one, let's move to our 3-step. So, no, I'm gonna do our cross behind first. It makes more sense. Never mind, I forgot. 3-step. I apologize to everyone. All right. 3-step, we're gonna do like the same thing. We're just gonna add a step to the front. So instead of just bringing this foot over, I'm gonna take a step forward and shuffle across. So my feet are actually coming together in the middle now and touching. But remember, since our goal here is lateral movement, you want your whole body moving side to side. If your body is staying over the ladder and your legs are going out to side, you're not really actually gaining anything right there.
Yep, step, move, yep, step, move, step, move, yep, step, move, perfect. Step, move, step, move, yep.
Okay.
Yes.
And of course, backwards with this time. So just
10 times.
step backward and across.
4 months ago. You're like 10 times speedier than like 4 months ago.
Well, I'm trying.
Totally, I see it in the fighting too. I keep bragging about you to everybody, so. All right, we're gonna take a real quick break after these guys are done with this one. And then we're gonna show you a couple of pieces how this drop step works in fighting. And what things to watch for. And we'll go through a number of the reasons forward and backwards why you do. It is back in the middle.
So I'm just
I saw it too.
nitpicky now.
Don't get nitpicky on it. That's good. All right, I'm gonna borrow a side here for a second. So the key in this drop steps is you have to be careful. It's perfectly fine to push this hip. If I want to get right on the side of her leg, then I'm gonna, instead of this hip going out to the side, I'm gonna push it more forward, and I'll stop here. And all I'm doing is, again, my hips are going into this empty position. I take this step up, and then I can throw something. But understand when you step like that, that you may be closing range, and you have to understand when that's happening. If I don't want to close range, I am still about this far away, then I'm going to change my angle. I might drop out here. I'm still safe. I can see what they do. If she just turns her upper body, I have different opportunities here. Again, it's for learning. And the last piece might be, if I'm dropping here, it might be part of a throw. Bang! The throw and the step, the catching step, are at the same time. So be aware of that. That same thing might happen backwards. If she's stepping at me, I might go straight back. Bang! Again, you saw in this case, we don't do these often, but it's the same thing. I'm dropping back. I'm just letting my butt, I'm lifting this foot and then falling into it. Again, you could throw a shot. It doesn't matter. If that person steps and I want to get into an angle, I might just drop sideways. Okay? So the idea is these drop steps are used not only for movement, but also for timing when you're throwing a blow. But that's why you would do a drop. I'd be like, why are you doing those backwards? Well, because there's a lot of times I'll be like, I want to get offline. I don't want, if I just do this, then this is leading to a double tap or a double jab like you see in boxing. So instead, I just drop that hip and over here, and then she has to do something to change her angle on because she's already stepping forward. That foot's pointing forward. Now that body is not set for them. That's why we drop into those.
It's a really awkward shot if I try and take it.
The idea is these can be really small or they can be really big. I may have learned already that when I just take a small step here, if I take a small step here, she just shifts her body a little bit. Well, she might get used to these smalls and not want to move her feet. Like, I don't have to move my feet. They're not going that far. And then I make a larger shift and now it's harder. I don't have to worry about throwing. They still might have a shield in front of me, but I'm pretty comfortable in this position. They are not. But you can absolutely do that to the other side. We'll do that to the other side the same way. Here's just leaning into this for a second. I can take a little drop step if I want. Then I could do a big one and throw a deeper leg, arm, whatever I want off. So that's that long step. The last step is that stepping step, or actually we have a stepping step that we can take a small and do that shuffling step. So here I am, I step into range, bang, I throw as these feet are coming, bang, and then I shuffle right into a position. Okay, if I'm already in space or in this spot, I might just lean forward a little bit, bang, and shuffle. So no step. That's where that shuffling step comes in. So it depends on how much distance you want in those. This is what we normally see is I'm walking forward. There is no dropping in those steps. I am just literally walking. And I might be even throwing. But because you don't necessarily have drops into those, some people will get natural body drops while they throw. That's a really short version. In other words, I might be walking and it's just like, wham! Now that body drops creates energy. But a lot of people also just do this. Unless you're really strong in the upper body, you're not going to get a lot of power out. All right, let's move on.
Okay, so now we're going to do the cross behind, now that I'm like thinking straight. So if we remember our 3-step we just did, now what we're going to do is we're going to take that forward step and we're just going to let the foot cross behind instead of coming right together. So this gets you further side to side because you're getting a bigger step. But hips are still straight forward.
This is stepping cross behind.
So this is good for, like I
A
said,
lot of
getting
times I'll step on a line.
larger side to side movements. This works great straight side to side. It also works great turning a circle.
And again, when she talks about turning a circle, that's just, falling into a corner instead of falling straight sideways. Now you're falling more into a 45 and pointing your feet. Yep, step and slide. Yep, step, slide. You got step, slide. I usually step almost like on the ladder steps. Step on the ladder, slide. Step on the ladder, slide. There you go. Step on the ladder, slide. Good.
Again, down in our knees, we're keeping your hips forward. You're not doing the twist. You're not actually doing the electric slide.
There you go.
That kind of seems like it.
When you do those, try to focus on keeping your hips forward too.
Yeah.
So want to tend to rotate a little bit.
Yeah, there's a tendency to rotate out.
Yep. And that's all about your feet.
If you can bend your knees a little bit, some of the rotation goes away.
And backwards.
Just like go down a little bit more.
Remember, when you're going backwards, you're taking a step back, so your foot's going to cross in front instead of behind. Check in on our wrist once in a while.
Yeah, let me check in, see how everybody's doing. All right. I see Margarita working hard over there. She saw that she's ready, getting ready for double oars. That's right. There you go, Margarita. It's really hard not to keep that foot pointed forward, but do your best. Nessa, that looks much better. Awesome. Keep those hips straight forward. Todd, let's see how you're doing over here. I'm going to pop over to you. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, nice job on those feet. Step, slide. Yep, step, slide. Yeah.
Well, we got this extra minute.
That's the way.
Folks, feel free to do another run or try and mix up your pattern a little bit like Louie likes to do.
I feel like I'm stepping a little too far. I feel like I'm getting slightly out of balance on my back foot.
Yeah, so yeah, just take them really small. Let your hips still glide, move these, and catch with your feet.
Yep.
Yeah, sometimes when you take too big of a step, we actually lose our balance.
These ones are actually extremely useful in the fight. You can do a jab step and then cross over to get to the other side really fast. So the jab step like freezes them, then crossing, get you your angle change.
Nice. I'm going to replace, and Louis is going to show you guys what he's talking about.
All right, Louis, show what you were talking about. So what I'm just talking about is you can do a jab step, and then you can cross change angle.
Exactly.
So
And now I want to turn a little bit, and now as long as I turn, he's going to set me, and then he's back over here.
Or if you want to do a range change, you can in fact make that a full step forward with the same jab step.
And that's a big part we don't talk about. There's a lot of range change depending on the angle your hips are falling into to make these steps. So just remember that that's really important to understand your range change, because if you're not understanding it, you may be giving your opponent opportunity. If you do understand it, that means I may be working Louis on the outside here, and I'm just like literally just rolling back and forth, right? And I'm working the same range. But now I can step in, I'm changing my range. Same kind of step, but I'm just stepping closer. Instead of a side slide, I take a 45, and now I'm in a really closer range that they're not ready for. All right.
So this might be the last one of pure lateral movement on the list, so we can make it the last one of the day. This is our 4-step. So we all remember we did our basic drop step. Now we're just doing another one in the same direction. So it's 2 or 3 or 4 if you want to get bigger. You've got the space. Just doing 2 little drop steps to the side, trying to keep flat and smooth. It's supposed to be one smooth sideways motion. We're just doing this little shuffly thing underneath. This is how we
Again, you
learn
can
how to
add
take
as many as you want to this,
This is how we learn how to take small steps.
which are super important, which are really critical to fighting.
small steps to keep your feet on the ground. It keeps you, gives you more opportunities to change directions faster.
It also helps you to remember to get that foot back when you're doing a step gather.
Can also help you be really sneaky about range changes sometimes. If you're doing just a bunch of these little tiny shuffly steps, they don't necessarily realize that you've changed range in there.
So a good one to do after you're done here, you could do these backwards, but another good one to do is right on the side of the ladder here. And all we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and good. All right, so that gives you longer runs back and forth.
Crab. What it makes me think of.
The piece there is that while you do that longer run, what you want to be able to do is get into a place that we can add, and we'll do it this step next, but we can add a back step in here. So as we're just doing little shuffles, right? So he stayed in front of me, he can keep up with little shuffles. I put a big shuffle in here now, all of a sudden I'm on his outside corner.
Right.
So go ahead and show the back. Yep.
This one backward is pretty different. You just shift your weight a little back instead of a little forward. It's still mostly just a side-to-side movement. being a smaller movement, it should make it easier on this one to practice keeping upright, keeping your butt under.
Also, remember when you get on either side of the ladder, try to have some distance between your feet. Try not to keep them together.
Do this with a sword in your hand, and on each side, stop and actually try and swing a shot.
This is actually important.
If it feels real awkward, your feet are probably not in the right spot. At the end of the day, all this footwork is trying to help us in our fight. If you can't throw a shot from where you are, it didn't help you as much as it could.
Sometimes it helps to think about how far your knees are apart from each other instead of your feet.
So, and what Side's talking about in these is, and this is something that's causing some issue as well, is a lot of people have that movement, but they're not taking stops in between to actually finish their blow. So you're here, drop into those feet, bang, bang, take that bang, take that stop.
And like ultimate plan, long-term goal there, you want that stop to be just a split second. If you have to take a while to stop and set up, you're giving your opponent time to catch up. But for learning purposes, if you have to stop, take a whole beat and figure out that shot, that's how you get it into the body. If you're like me and you just keep moving on through and try and throw, you have no body in it because I didn't actually dig my foot in, I just kept stepping. This is one of my current struggles.
Yes, and it's actually a lot of people. Nessa's having a little trouble with that as well as a number of people. So, and you just went through all pretty much what you wanted to?
Yeah, everything else.
Last one I just want to cover. Okay, and yeah, we'll go to the full, we'll go to the circle and let people get armored up that want to get armored up. Last piece, we're doing the shuffles here, right? And we call those shuffles, or really, what's happening here, it's almost like a gathering step, but so here I am, whoa, and I'm in a ditch. The next though is I want to kick this foot past the other. So his hips start shifting. And if you look at your ladder, you're almost skipping a step.
It's that cross behind step. You turn it sideways and go down your ladder, you can work on getting it bigger. Or if you just have a lot of space because you're outside, you can do it side to side, bigger. But
All right, and this works with your opponent. If you have an opponent in front of you, you can see what happens, right? Okay, so you can kind of, in that case, I almost went into a rotation because he was backing up a little bit, but that's okay. All I did is I kicked this foot around this time and then went over here. But that's that crossover, longer kick crossover. So on the ladder, all you have to do is cross, cross. You should see it only takes you about 2 to get across the ladder, 2 or 3.
like 5 of those.
Yeah, 5 of those.
4.5 of those.
Yeah.
3 of those.
Exactly. So you can see again, the gather is the shortest step. Okay, or the drop to gather. The shuffle is a little bit longer because you got momentum. And then the longest step is that back step, that swing behind step.
Crossing over.
All right.
Thanks to geometry.
That's right. All right, I'm gonna let the folks go get in armor. I'm gonna go ahead and work on rotationals for anybody that wants to work on those. And we're gonna talk about that range as well. Everybody get a drink. Am I close enough to the camera, by the way?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So as you go, you know, if this is one of those, if you have an outdoor Pel, you can work on the outdoor Pel on. This is also one of those that you can work on those stopping and throwing. So if you get a lot of you don't have enough power, that's probably because you're not leaving enough setup time. You're thinking about moving through everything and there's not enough setup time in the throw itself. Remember that the throw becomes critical. It's nothing wrong with learning movement. I mean, absolutely have to learn that. But the next piece is to understand how to build that dropping step into a punch. And that takes some body development to do. So even as we drop outside here, if I'm fighting side, even as I want to move through her, if I'm here and I just go here and then I'm just thinking about moving, everything's a little light. This first part of this is I should be thinking about I'm driving this shot right through her. The movement is the second part of the shot. Hey!
Right in the knee.
I know. So the idea is that here we are. Hey! And then I'm moving through the shot. All right. So, and if I'm moving around on side here and I'm moving, if that takes a place where I have to, hey, if I have to step, I have to I'm going to grind in a little and then burst and throw and then move again. That's fine. We have to find that place where we can get good contact to the ground to deliver shots. So there's the key inside of that is a really, a lot of shot is about pushing into that ground. I could stand here. If Sive stands here and just throws at me, no push it to the ground. These are all, and she could even throw her hip into it even. It doesn't matter. She's not pushing onto her front leg. She's almost off of her front leg if you look. So now drive into that front leg a little bit. Exactly. Now all that energy is coming forward instead of circular. Before that energy was just turning with her hip. Now she's driving that energy from her toe through her hip, through her arm. And there's a million other places that starts. That's that line of power. That line of power breaks down anywhere, then you start losing strength on your shot.
One of those places where, weirdly enough, just punching a punching bag actually is very informative.
Yeah.
Because you feel the feedback in your arm. You can tell if you hit it hard or not. And you can kind of feel where in your body it broke down. So
yep.
At least it helped me. I should do more of it.
You all right over there, Taran? Uh-oh. Heat getting to you a little? Why don't you come sit in the shade over here? Bring your little chair. There we go. Actually, you can probably come sit up here if you want. A little less. There we go. So our next piece, absolutely, if you have a sword and board, it's perfectly fine to do this. I would suggest doing these with a sword and board. If you have a pel, I would suggest that you actually hit the pel to get the feel. Even if you don't have a sword and board, you could actually, if you have gloves, you could actually do that boxing. In other words, I could take these, rotate, draw like this simple drop, step out, bang, punch, right? Because what we'll see is a lot of people want to go bang, and then they're thinking about the next step so fast that they forgot to finish the punch. So that becomes a real big issue. So here we are. I'm just taking an outside step, and then I'm finishing it. On that throw, there should be a little bit of a drop onto that front knee. You should have a small shift of power into that front foot. Now, that doesn't mean that if somebody's stepping at you, you can't fall and throw back. Again, now they're stepping into your range. I'm still stepping onto that back foot, throwing the power, and then can continue. But I will tell you, those, no matter what, because you're falling back, those don't tend to be as hard as falling into somebody because you're falling away from your power. Okay, same thing happens in boxing. Muhammad Ali did these all the time because he was always falling back into the rope-a-dope, and then he'd sit on the rope and he'd just suck stuff up and throw from the rope, and then every once in a while he'd throw something real big by leaning onto the front foot. He'd throw a couple and they'd be back onto that back foot again. So if you watch some of his fighting, that's what's happening in those. His big shots were the ones where he leaned, where he essentially shifted his weight forward into that front foot. That same thing goes here. So be aware of how the fundamentals of power develop. All right, so the first time around the pel, what we want is simple drop step. In other words, we're just gonna drop and gather. When we talk drop step or gathering step, it's about the same. There's always a gather after you're done stepping. So you get a lot of people who are fighting, they take this step and they throw, and then they leave this distance between their legs. is a bad habit, because now if they step on you, you're linear and they actually are able to do more and you're off balance. So the idea is, even if I step forward, bang, and then I gather that back foot back up, that's fine. If I step forward and throw, bang, I might gather back, that's fine. But make sure you're gathering those feet. Usually you want to, while you're falling forward, bring that back foot with you, because that allows that hip to come, whang, allows that hip to be fully engaged, and then you can just fall back into our drop step to the back. We learned all of these. These are fundamental. This is all that small feet. This is all just fundamental when you get into almost any type of striking art. So first time around, good hands position. You don't have to have anything in it, and just drop. Remember, you got to turn that toe in. If you don't turn your toe in, think of it as a circle around this. And do nice small drops first time around. Okay? Later, you can get those bigger.
Remember, we've talked about the pie before. Pie of death.
And you can see where I slid there because my hips weren't over my front foot when I landed.
You need the opponent, or in this case, the pill, to stay in the pie of death.
And what she means is those.
So if you don't turn your feet, you're just going to move around, and the pill is going to slide outside of your pie that is made by your feet.
So we do a lot with the pie. Really, the keys. Yep. The key on this is, I don't care if you turn in a little bit. That's up to you. I'm not a fan, but if you have that big long arm, I don't care. As long as you always know where your feet are and try to get it back to your normal position. It always goes back to getting back to your normal position or to your neutral stance. Because if I throw something and I'm here, this is a different position. Now, we can get very good fighters can get used to doing these things, but normally they will always go back into their normal position because this is their space.
If you are someone who has more of a sideways stance and like that is your style and you're sticking with it, I recommend looking up Duke Mark from out west. His footwork is all based on more of this sideways stance, and he's amazing at it. So that will be able to teach more directly exactly what you want and doing it well.
Yep. So just make sure that whatever you're doing, even if if I point my foot straight at my opponent, if I move, when I land, I want that foot still pointed straight towards my opponent. I don't want this. Now my foot's pointed over here, a little bit away. So now I'm turning my hips. I lose power. I lose that line of power. I lose my defense because it's not in your neutral position. Okay, go ahead, circle. So anytime during these rotationals, you could change range. So the key is that you know you're changing range. Right now, when you first start these, you may not realize how much you're changing range. Every inch makes a difference. So if she wants to change range as she's dropping behind the shield. So let's say I'm this person and she's looking for a hard deep wrap. She may just drop step closer to me because now she can throw that. If she drops too far away from me, it's harder to throw. Easier for me to block.
Gotten closer, I can't actually really reach that wrap.
Okay, but if she drops in a little tighter, and then the next step could be away again. So I'll follow her, and then she steps back away the other way. Go ahead and step back away the other way. Here she is again.
Continue going around.
Yep. So she's tight, and then she's away. All right. So you have to understand that, we do this on a really nice circle to make sure that we understand exactly where we are and that we can control our range when we're doing it. But controlling the range is the key words here, is that you can control it when it's closer or farther, and you can make those changes. And then you can see she's going the other way. Yeah, that's a downhill motion there. That catches me too. All right, so go ahead and do it rotationally both ways. I'm going to take a quick look and see how people are doing. All right, I'm going to go to Margarita first.
Yeah, if anybody remembers back when we were doing this in the garage and we actually had
so much better, Margarita.
around Bob on the ground.
Really nice.
You could expand that now and make 3 circles, your A, B, and C ranges,
Yeah.
and practice moving between them.
All right, I got you, Angus. Very nice. Make sure you're not leaning forward on those steps. Yeah, because if you're leaning forward, that means your hips are kicked back a little bit. So you want to kick those hips a little bit, get those hips a little bit under you. This is one of these exercises that actually, as you move, I found that kicks your hips out. So you have to really concentrate on it. Almost think like you're leaning backwards. You see how you're much straighter up now? Yes, that's much better, man. Now you're a lot straighter. And go the other way now. All right, I'm swinging over to Nessa.
Mind if I pick up the ladder, or do we still need
Yeah, pick it up if you can. Not easy. You need a spike. Oh, good. I kicked them a few times. That's the way, Nessa. Really nice. Really good back. Every once in a while, what I'd like you to do on these, Nessa, is really sink into one and throw as hard as you can at that pelt. Only 1 or 2 around the pelt. There you go. Okay, and then you can go back to nice light. That doesn't matter. But every once in a while, sink into it so you learn to transition from light to power. She's out in the sun burning up out there. Working hard. That's awesome. Yeah, hopefully she put on a lot of sunscreen because she is out in the sun. All right. So our next step, over here in the back. Our next step is going to be the simple shuffle. So the shuffle is going to, your foot's kind of going to go right in line, and then you're going to shuffle over. So just shuffle. Again, I have to turn these feet because if I'm here, right? If I'm here almost directly on the camera here, and I shuffle and I don't turn my foot, I'm not in line with, this is my line. This is my line. Oh, hey, here's my opponent. Oh, hey, my opponent's gone. Right? So now I'm going to shuffle and I'm going to turn. I'm going to turn. Here I am. Look, the hands are still right all the way around the opponent. All right, that becomes the piece on these shuffles. So again, nice round circle around, go all the way around. Then when you're done, you're going to shuffle this back foot in line with the front, and you're just going to shuffle around. Good. All right. Are you going to catch yourself? Yes. You get that? You move that too then?
Yeah, I moved the
Okay, good.
thing over, and that's why I pulled the ladder, so we wouldn't trip.
Nope, that's good.
So we're doing like single cross.
Yeah, just this shuffle. That's a cross. There we go.
Straight up shuffle.
Yep, small shuffle. There we go. Now, as you get really good at this, if you find yourself really hard stopping in between here and you don't, that's probably because you're standing up a little bit. So you can go ahead and sit into it a little bit more, and it'll become a little bit more flowy. But that same thing goes. And I'll swing it back to Nessa in a few here. But same thing on a shot now. You can shuffle a couple, you're going to shuffle twice and then ground and throw a shot. Bang. And then she can now fall back into another shuffle. So 2 shuffles and a shot. That's it. Okay. I'm going to pop it over to Nessa. Let's see how she does that. The same idea with this is that shot is going to be good and powerful. There, that's it. And again, on this shot, you could just drop your butt and throw the leg shot.
Might need to be slightly closer.
There you go. And she's throwing that, she threw that last one in a quick wrap. Good. Good. All right. So you got the idea on this. I'm going to switch over. Nessa, when you throw that leg shot front blade on, I want that hand to come across the body. Yeah, so the hand should almost be in front or past your face. Yes. Now throw a leg shot the same way. Yes. Now drop even farther if you can. There. Okay.
Putting on your seatbelt.
That's the way. Good. Bringing that across drives that power a little bit more. You can see that power dropping into the sword. Now, what it will be like before is you're throwing it a little. You can break your hand out to change angles, but you will lose some power. All right. So, yes, that's okay. You there you go. Good. That's exactly what I wanted to see. All right, switching over. See who we got here. I think I got Angus. There you go, Angus. There you are. Yeah. Now really think about perfect technique on those shots. So slow those shots down and think about that exact technique. Yes. You don't have to throw power. Now it's the opportunity to make sure like you're dropping for a leg shot, that leg shot, your butt's down. Yes, that's the idea. So here's a case where he doesn't have a PEL, but he can practice these shots perfectly.
Okay.
Much better. All right. There we go. So we are getting to a point where we could bring in extra people. If you have somebody else that wants to come over your practice and work with you, here's an example of not having a PEL, but Louis is kind of making up. He can rotate while she moves around. There you go.
I know, and then I changed.
There we go. And what he's doing is just tracking with the pad so that you can throw a higher shot. And he could change that shot. So he could literally drop and throw, make that sword a little, yep, and then make her throw lower or throw higher. There we go. All right. And there's the wrap. There, nice. Good.
Wrong step, but you know, it was there.
All right. So again, this is adding a layer of thinking in. Nice. Now maybe, yeah, drop into that front foot.
Yeah, if I did technique.
Yeah, if you didn't feel it, you didn't drop into that front foot, did you?
No, I didn't catch my
You
balance
slapped it,
first,
yeah.
so I was sliding and falling at the same time.
And that's exactly, you can hear her, what happened in that one is she was sliding still. She hadn't actually set up when the blade was going already. So it was more of a slap than a punch.
Yeah, there was no leg involvement whatsoever.
Which I tell you what, I had watched the Canelo fight and a number of other fights, and you do see boxers slap a lot as well. Even they're not supposed to, but they slap with the front of their glove sometimes. It drives me crazy because it's not a very good shot. But they slap so that their opponent knows that they can touch them. And if they can touch them, then their opponent adds tension to their body. Then they can shuffle into something and turn that a little bit more in with proper technique and hit. So, but yeah, in the last one, you can see Canelo slapping a lot because he was having a hard time actually making good connections. Which was a very sad fight for me because I'm a Canelo fan, but the Russian fighter was really, really good for nobody. All right, so that's the shuffle. Ooh, that one. Yeah.
He's not right now.
So the next one is going to be a crossover. Again, if you're doing these around the PEL, you will start shortening the number of steps you take around the PEL, depending on how many steps, you know, what you end up, what footwork you end up using. Just like when we're shuffling side to side, the shuffling around a PEL is a little faster than the drop step around a PEL. And now when we add the back foot in, it adds even a bigger run of feet. So on that back, there's two ways to do these. One is we could absolutely do this swing across the front. Now, the one problem with the swing across the front, I will tell you, is because this hip, even if as I'm towing this towards and getting in the right position, this hip is still almost impossible not to turn forward some. So now most of my body is twisted. It's very hard to throw a shot in that position.
Getting down a little helps.
Right. But
There's a limit.
you can still drop into it, but there's a limit.
For that one, you really to not get that twist, you basically have to be on your toes and
Yeah,
turning
so
already.
Your back foot almost has to turn as you're doing that, and it's perfectly fine. The extra steps that we do that also Lomachenko used to do, or probably still does, we just don't see him as much, is we add a little bit of drop step right into the front, like take that small step, and then we go. So I'll do this really slow. We step on the line, and then actually we step over the line almost, just to heel over that line, and then we clear that back foot to make a passing step behind the foot. So now my hip is forward. I can do this farther away from Louis and still hit him.
Your battery is running low.
I figured. Warning you all, if I probably got about another 5 minutes on my battery on my laptop. So if I drop, I apologize. I hope you had a good day.
The phone will keep running. We'll just have to figure it out.
Keep running. The laptop will drop, and I'll just reconnect the Bluetooth. But Facebook will drop. So here we are again.
It should keep
Oh,
going.
no, it keeps going.
Either way, we'll not waste time. We'll deal with it when it comes. Fair warning, laptop's low on battery.
All right. So again, here we are. Small step. Heel goes in front of that toe. Bang. As I'm moving. And again, small step. Bang. Okay. Small step. Bang. Small step. Bang. I'm sitting on that when I do this small step, here I am, bang, literally sit and drive that power from the ground a little bit. Okay, if I'm farther away and I do that, here I am, small step, bang. So now that was poor, because I actually wish Louis could, if Louis is watching me, he probably saw me looking at this fight over here practically, not on purpose. Small step, bang. Okay. So that's the normal step around that pellet. Again, watch now. I'll do it the opposite way. Here I am. You notice I can't get as much power into that. Okay? Still works. Just can't get as much power.
It's definitely good to change the time.
All right. Now we're going to go ahead. I'm going to rotate the other way. Here we are. Foot's open. There's no step in this one. So here we are. Rotate, bang. I could throw offside or onside. Doesn't matter. Okay. This is really hard to find the timing. I missed the timing on the one right before that. Louis could tell. The second timing was much better. I just hesitated a little longer to make sure I was settled in my stance. So again, beware of where your power cycle is in this. Today we're talking about distance and power. That's really, these are subtleties in what we're doing. I didn't focus on a lot of power earlier because I wanted everybody to get feet. Wanted everybody to feel comfortable with movement. This movement should be in its place that you don't have to think about it. We have to get that power dynamic and that timing into that same place, because then I could use these steps to work my opponent, and they're just natural. I'm not thinking about these steps so much. I'm thinking about, oh, elbows is available right there. So I'm going to go back over here, go back, bang. Right? I'm thinking about what weakness my opponent's showing. Not only the first weakness, but after I see that elbow, I might do this, and there's an elbow. Oh, there's maybe a leg. And then I go back to the elbow. So we're layering what I'm seeing. And then you're able to take advantage of those pieces because you know the weaknesses. Now you're going to throw in times that you know you have more opportunity for success and less opportunities for your opponent doing something. that something is throwing at you. All right, so around the Pell again. Here we are. Over. Hey. 2, 3, 4. Okay. So you can start counting these. We did a lot of counting at these to make these bigger. So here I am. If you take too big of a step on the front step ones, you will not move well. So you just heel in front of the other toe.
At
And-
one point, you were all the way down to 3.
Okay. So the idea is when you get good enough to trust, when you get good enough to trust that this foot literally kicks. At first, it's just going to hold itself. Later, you're going to use this as a lever to kick that balance farther.
If you take a small step for the first step, it helps you get your momentum going faster. If you take a big step, your foot's out in front of you a little bit too far, and you can't really get moving faster.
So what
All
about the goofy foot fighters, Bronis?
Here's just a little.
Someone just asked a question.
Okay.
Say it again.
The goofy foot fighters. So I tend to go more of my right foot forward in
That's fine.
a standard step. So is that just kind of reversed?
So, hold on. I'm gonna turn Bluetooth on. Do you want to shut that one off so when we lose it? Let us switch Bluetooth real quick. I'll turn Bluetooth on that one, or oh no, we have to turn the audio on that one.
Yeah, we'll deal with it when it
Okay.
happens. Who was that was just asking?
That's Angus.
Angus, okay. Just go ahead and show.
All right. So
We've still got a little bit.
So you're right foot forward.
Yep.
Here I am. So now I might take this step and end up right foot forward again. Right? Now the difference is when I do it around the other way, I am just that back foot is open. So it doesn't matter which foot's forward. In fact, when we practice these, we just like with all our other movements, we switch our feet.
It was like, so we're talking about right foot forward, and you were showing we just take the step and go the other way. We're going this way, and this one's already forward. You can still take that little cheater step, and it's only got to be this big. It's just turn the corner and go.
We're not hearing you, Bronis.
Laptop died.
We can see you, just can't hear you.
We lost the laptop finally, but we're here. We're back now.
Okay.
All right.
I will work on trying to connect to that. You talk.
Oh yeah, all you do is do Bluetooth. But go ahead, Angus. Hold on.
Hold on. Oh.
I know, getting to the,
What's the name of that thing?
it is some sound something.
Soundcore?
Yep.
Sorry, guys.
All right, hold on. We should be connecting. Checking if we're connected.
Not yet. Who was trying to talk?
So if this is off too long, this might have died. This might have cut off. So I'm going to turn it back on.
Okay, that would help.
There we go. I think that's what's happening.
Connected for calls and audio.
Okay, foot cam just went away.
All right, I can hear you.
We
I
know
think.
foot cam, but I can hear you. There we go.
There you
All
go.
Okay, Angus, who was it that was asking about funny foot?
That's me. I normally fight with the funny foot forward.
And that's perfectly fine. Then you just switch your feet, right?
Yep.
So it's the same way. It's almost like when we practice, you want to actually switch both feet because so great people like Crawford can actually fight right or left-handed, which is super difficult. Some boxers think they can, they really can't.
Margarita, can you make foot cam the host? It chucked it to you when the laptop died.
So, so the more you practice something, this goes right to Sven, only practicing left-handed work when he's fighting. It's like, hey, you're going to go home, you're going to eat left-handed, you're going to brush your teeth left-handed, you're going to do all these things. If you want to be a Florentiner, this is what you're going to do.
So the more you practice something, the better you get at it. This is why we rotate between which foot's forward on lots of the footwork. But it's the same movement. If you look, it's all the same movement.
Yep.
All right. So the big key goes back to the same thing, and that is find that distance. I may want to get around my opponent, right? Here's 20 foot forward. I may be way far away from my opponent here. Here I'm almost probably off camera almost. Now I want to get closer, so I may actually take that first little step instead of just twisting my foot. I'm going to take a little outside step, and then I'm right nice and close. I'm less than sword distance away. Okay. My next step might be to get range again. Now I'm far away again. All right. So that's the idea here, is that you can change your ranges in those. And this is the place where we haven't practiced. We haven't really practiced the idea of doing that footwork. Again, you could turn. This little step actually helps you turn your foot. So if you watch my foot here, I could do this one of two ways. I could just twist on the ball of the foot as I'm turning in. My knee is going in. My toes are in line. Or I can take a small step and turn. Either way, it's so small that it's hard for your opponent to see. But remember, anytime you take a step, this step will allow your opponent to see it before you're actually into movement. Perception picks up larger movements on angles more than it picks up dead straight on. All right, this is why when I'm standing here on camera and I just lean in and my head's not going up or down, I am just leaning in and throwing something, I'm changing a range, it's very hard to perceive. If I do this, it's easy to see because that sword's coming from an outside range. So your eye's like, whoa, something coming. Compared to that sword driving straight at you is a much harder thing to see.
That's the thing that makes talking back here.
That's
so
what
visible.
makes, and Side's prepping me here. So if I'm here and I do this, well, look at that top of that sword, it's kicking out. Very easy to see. That's what they call a tell. So here I am, my hand's pointed this way. Naturally, to get my fingers on target, look what happens to my sword. Now, my fingers are pointed at you. Guess what? I can just throw the beginning at the end of that blow. Here I am, I turn, now I'm lined up, now I can throw. That's 2 beats. Here I am pointed, 1 beat.
But how can you get any power when your arm is out here?
Side's really, she's like, here's not even a softball
I'm on a
pitch.
roll.
That's not even a softball pitch. It's throwing like a volleyball at me to hit out of the park. So this is one.
I need this to get my power.
Yeah, and like baseball, you can get a lot of power on a swinging motion, right?
That is your style. Cool.
But remember that you're bleeding power at the same time in that swinging motion and showing your opponent what you're seeing. A baseball is not going to change anything necessarily if it sees a bat coming at it, right? But in what we do, it definitely is a thing. Now, driving forward, if I'm just standing here and I'm pushing straight forward, there's not a lot of power. Most of this power, because I'm not bringing, again, that line of power from toe to through sword isn't there. I essentially, even if I'm here and I turn my hip, now if I'm pushing my hip at you, I'll get a little bit more power, but I didn't lean onto my front foot. So by pushing, the toes engage in the ground, the knee turns, and my whole line of power has to be out at the same time. If I do this and then throw, I just broke. There's the first part of my power and the second part of my power. I only get the last part.
But circling back around what we were saying with how that
Yes.
forward motion is hard to see, you'll note how every piece of the power generation is just a forward motion. The hip is coming straight towards you. The shoulder is coming straight forward. I'm off camera.
Yeah, here we go.
We're here. That hip comes straight forward. That shoulder comes forward into the sword. and then it all goes. And from the opponent's perspective, there's none of this. It's still all just straightforward and hard to see. So, yes, you can generate power that way.
The other
And
piece,
yes, you can keep it all hidden.
exactly. The other piece is what
Hidden.
people hidden. Yes. The other piece, what people is like, we do a lot of extended arms, so we don't see forearm here. A lot of people, I'm tucked in here so I can deliver power. Well, we do a lot of extended arm. I'm pushing out. I'm drawing in. We change these. People are like, you can't throw enough power here to hit somebody, and they're probably,
You are correct.
or I somebody that's super strong in our sport probably can still.
You are Duke Uther.
Yeah,
hard.
exactly. I've
Go
seen
for
Uther
it.
throw half shots at kill people. But look at this. There's no cock in the arm here. In fact, Sir Jason, who was my squire, his arm's almost like this. Straight. I'm like, how in the hell do you do that? I can't do that. But when I fall in, look what happens to that bend of that elbow. Right? So the hand's coming back to the shoulder and then throwing. And it actually can all happen at the same time. It could literally, I'm starting to prep this throw. Bang. Right? Again, it's all timing in that. So here I am. Bang. Back out. Bang. Back out. Bang. So if you're on a pel, here I am. Sword's away from my head. Look. Sword's back to my head. Bang. Bang.
I find that to be an advantage of our style versus the like back on the shoulder style is it's really quick for us to return and
Yes.
get back to that home base position.
Or that neutral position. Yep.
Like if you're more of a on the shoulder style, you have further to go to get out and back. But you can move really quick with those
With the rotational.
rotational movements. So like either one works. You just got to know which one you're doing.
And that's the key is, and where side comes from, either one works. You just have to understand how it works. Same thing as goes for these rotationals. Here I am, the shield's here. That even in a rotational, what's happening is they're driving onto that front foot. I'm straightening my body. And then I'm not doing this. That's too early. I straighten that body. I start driving my hand at you. Bang.
If you watch Duke videos, if you watch videos of Duke Sean in slow-mo, you'll see his big long belt twitch. Duke Sean, who fights, with one of these up here, he's got a real long belt, and you will see in video, if you watch in slow-mo, like several frames before the sword ever moves, the belt twitches because his hip is starting,
Lining
and it's
up.
all going before it launches off the shoulder. All down here.
Yep. All right. Any other questions? Everybody still out there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yep, I'm still here.
All right. So I kind of gave some stuff specifically for Nessa to work on. She's really shaking his faces at me. One thing I have noticed, yes, there we go. One thing I did notice is that a lot of people are starting to get success throwing directly forward into these angles. Watch my hand on this. It literally comes across my face. And then I'm inside their shield and I'm dropping that line. If you start this too early, then you're getting a lot of rotation on the top of your sword. The hand's across my face, but they're still going to be able to make that block. So you should be driving straight and then dropping in. Good part about driving straight is I'm here. I can also turn, drive straight. I can turn, drive straight. I can drop, right? Drive straight. I can drop. All that line is still driving. Everything's here. Bang. I can turn any angle I want up here. I can throw that flat snap. Bang. Right? So just beware of what you can do, what you can't do. But if you're in a position where you're like, here I am, I'm swinging, I'm turning my hand, I can't do a lot of stuff here because I already turned my sword into an angle. I can throw that one, but how do I get over to that leg again?
Gonna hit their shoe.
Right, and I can't get to that offside leg anymore unless I turn the other angle. Okay, can use that as a fake if you learn that your opponent falls for it. But if you're just doing it naturally, then you're not. If you're not doing it on purpose, then you're not really taking advantage of it. So just beware. If you're doing it on purpose, I have no problem. But the idea is if all those shots are coming from the same place, here I am. Now I'm deciding where I want to hit. Bang, elbow. right? Or Molinet into the elbow. Angles are huge when it comes to essentially being able to hit stuff. Changing angles at the end of something does take power off, so you have to be careful. If you have to power up, then you better work the feet, work your timing, and then not change an angle and just make it nice and solid. But in most cases, if everything else is engaged in your line of power, you can change an angle at the end, forgive a little bit of power, and still get a kill. All right, I think we covered a bunch of stuff. Hopefully everybody had a good time. Thanks for coming out.
I'm gonna kill the Facebook live stream. Feel free to stick around for a few minutes on Zoom if you want to say anything or ask questions. Bye, Facebook.